Hi, everyone, and welcome to Speak Your Truth podcast. I'm Kristen Bomas, and we are on a conscious journey to enlightenment. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about the divisiveness and racism and murder and mass murders that we have been experiencing in this country as of recent. And I think each and every one of us has our opinions and our thoughts and our feelings about what is happening with all of this racism and prejudice that we're seeing. What's happening with this crazy divide of, left and right, up and down. It's like, oh my God, when are we going to work more toward unity and harmony? Isn't that where we were in the 60s? How did we digress? How did we get back to this point where we're having all of these Nazi marches and KKK marches and, all these marches, period. I mean, it's people fighting for, on one hand, unity and peace, and on the other, divisiveness and hatred. And it's really, again, divided. That's kind of what's happening right now, I think, as a whole. So let's talk about that. And is that linked to the murders that we're looking at? I think so. What's the common thread? What's the underlying denominator? Let's look at that. And through the course of the talk, I'm going to throw some stats out. I really do welcome anybody. My stats may be off because I haven't had a chance to really research them, but I want you to get a feel for what the stats are showing. So even if my numbers aren't exactly right, you're going to get a feel for a couple of things that I put out there. So let's talk about the divisiveness first, and then how that comes into the racism and the murders that we've been seeing. In particular, we just had this past week, another school mass shooting. So I want to tie this all together. In essence, we're going to look at divisiveness. We're going to look at fear. We're going to look at how that is propagated in this country. We're going to look at the epidemic abuse patterns in this country. And we're going to then pull it all together to see how certain things are feeding into an increase in racism and an increase in violence. And the type of violence we're seeing, because the violence that we're seeing today is very different than the violence we were seeing 10, 20, 30 years ago. And the guns are the same. The violence is different. So, divisiveness. Why do I feel that that's such a significant part of what we're about to talk about today? Because anytime people are divided, they're divided based on fear. We don't divide when we're feeling love. We don't divide when we're laughing and feeling happy. We don't divide when we're caring and compassionate and empathic. We divide when we're hurt, when we're traumatized, when we're angry, when we hate. We divide out of fear. We unite out of love. And last week I did a talk on soulmates. And everybody likes to talk about soulmates because it's about love. And love is why we're here in a lot of ways. Everybody wants to feel loved. Everybody on both sides of the equation wants to feel loved. So why are we dividing in the name of fear, and why are we escalating in fear? There are a number of answers that go into that. That's a podcast in and of itself. But one piece of it that I do want to talk about in our culture in particular is the way we have been conditioned to feel via television, media, various forms of media, throughout the years. And so media, and in particular some of the newscastings, are they have gotten over the years more and more about, death, destruction, doomsday. Oh my God, it's like turning on the news. It's like the whole energy of it is like, it just makes you tighten up and sit like, oh my God, what next? We all have become very attuned to feeling the drive to see what's happening, what bad is happening next. Well, the more fear we get, the more we cower back. The more we cower back, the more we fragment as a culture, as a family, as a unit. That's our foundation right now. On top of that, divisiveness that was already put in place, politically we have become divided as a people. And in that political divide, people are escalating each side of the fence. Again, great fear on either side. It's not propagating love and unity at all. So in the last couple weeks, we've had this burst of news about people blatantly bullying with racism and judgment other people, whether it's an attorney carrying on with a Latino who is speaking their native tongue in a public market and then getting chased down by photographers, or a woman, I don't know if she was a physician, but she was something high trained, a woman who was a person high trained, not a thing, a woman who was, accusing a black man of barbecuing in a park was it Yale, that the black student was resting on a couch in the lobby of her dorm and the cops were called on her by another student. It's outrageous. It so breaks my heart. I can't believe that we're seeing this. And it's becoming daily. People are putting out videos that are going viral on, stop racism. So we know that the majority of the people don't want this, and yet it's taking up a majority of the news. And so it feels like it's just rampant because it's all over the place. Then there are the mass shootings. 10 more children dead, 10 others injured. A student shooting students with weapons that take them down, then spent 25 minutes in a shoot-off with the cops, ultimately saying he ran out of the courage to shoot himself like he had planned. So we have 17 students and teachers dead from Parkland massacre and 17 injured. We have over 50 dead in Orlando, gay, lesbian, transgender, queer people who were just trying to enjoy one another in a club for them when an intruder came in and just leveled the playing field. Lives lost. We had Las Vegas, where I don't even remember the numbers of Vegas, a guy just far removed from the people, up in a window, not the least bit connected, just leveling the playing field. Cops taking cover because they were helpless, nothing they could do. How does this happen? There's a common thread between the racism, the hate, and the bullying, and the people mowing other people down like this. This isn't the same as gang fights. This isn't the same as a murder of one individual to another. It's not even the same as a serial murderer. These are hate crimes that are killing masses based upon bullying, prejudice, whatever you want to call it. We're looking at the guns because very clearly the tool being used is very much allowing these people to exercise their hate and their prejudice more fully. It's different. It's very different. As I said in my Facebook Live, we have parents who drop their kids off for war, and they prepare themselves for the idea that their son or daughter may not return home from war. But when we drop our children off at school, we drop them off with pride and joy in our heart, looking forward to saying hello at the end of the day and seeing, what was your day like? What did you experience? Who did you meet? What happened? We want to know about their social life, their whole thing. But in 2018, we've had more children and teachers dead in the schoolhouses than adults on the battlefields. There's something wrong with that picture. We're creating a culture based on trauma at many levels. We have a new way of murdering now. We do these mass murders because it's now the copycat murder. We are doing it with prejudice and against bullying because that's what we are learning to do. It's part of the copycat. The bullying is intensified and sensationalized not just by the media, but by social media. Social media allows all of this to go rampant. Sharing the ideas, boosting the ego. We know that some of the issues going on with ISIS is working through social media, getting people who want to do larger murders and working off of their mindset and getting them all pumped up and making sure they follow through, and making sure they get the weapons and making sure they have. That's all happening in our country, guys. When are we going to open our eyes and start to ask ourselves when we're going to bring a halt to this behavior? When are we going to stop watching news that does nothing but sensationalize all of this? Do you know, this is where I want you to double check my stats. I believe only 22% of Americans own guns. That means that 78% of Americans don't own guns. 78% of Americans don't own guns. I mean, even if that stat is off a little bit, it is an enormous difference. If you listen to the news and the media, you would think that everybody owns a gun in America, but that's not the case. And do you know that 50% of all the guns are owned by 3% of the people? That may be off, but it's a little number. And it says to me that those who are hoarding and collecting large bunches of ammunition and guns are a unique few. And yes, they are not the ones who are going out and creating the mass shootings. But we're not addressing the issue. If only 22% of Americans own guns, then we do need to really just get stricter on how they own them. Because if those 22 aren't the ones doing the shootings, those same 22% are going to own their guns. It's not going to be a problem. But as we go forward, what is a problem is that we don't have any structure on the guns, and the copycat murders today aren't the same as the copycat murders when I was growing up. The copycat murders are built upon racism that has gotten cool, bullying that has gotten cool, suicide and murder on the internet that has gotten cool, and mass murders that have gotten cool. It's not cool anymore, guys. Wake up. We're going to destroy our children and still want to talk about having guns just be free for all? We're going to destroy children and we're going to talk about mental illness? Are you kidding me? We've had no murderers in the history, the written history of mankind. No murderer is sane, so to speak. They're either temporarily insane or they've got a structure that allows them to do it, but none of them are mentally ill in a way that you're thinking. These aren't street people that are suffering with psychotic issues or extreme bipolar issues that we're going to medicate or put into a group home or rehab facility or whatever the hell else they're thinking. That's not what this is about. That's not an answer. That's a diversion. This country hasn't done anything about mental health in I don't even know if they ever have. So here we are, we're talking about mental health because we don't want to talk about guns. Well, really, we don't want to talk about guns and we don't want to talk about mental health because the real issue is culturally what we're allowing to happen. We're allowing the bullying, we're allowing the racism, we're allowing the hate, we're allowing people to fragment in the name of anything but life. As people, what are we going to do one person at a time? What are you going to do today to show kindness, to show unity, to stop the children from bullying one another, to teach another child how to stop from being bullied? Are you going to be the adult that approaches the parent of a child because you notice the child is struggling? Are you going to be the adult who has a child who is in a struggle with another child and interrupt that struggle? Are you going to be the adult who stops the child who is showing prejudice, racism, and bullying, no matter if it's yours? Are you willing, in the name of love, to take care of a child who has been misdirected in this culture and in our country? Are you going to look at unity and pull together? I want to know when we decided, as an American people, to drop the moral code that said love, acceptance, unity, and harmony are the way we move forward in this life. We are a country built on spiritual principles of freedom and unity, diversity and acceptance. And we're worried about the Second frickin' Amendment? Are you kidding me? What about our constitutional basis? What are we doing? What are you doing today to start a new beginning with the way you interact with that person you come across, and more importantly, the child who might be showing prejudice on the playground, or coming home being bullied, or coming home being accused of bullying? What are you doing to interact with your children and the children of your neighborhood to make sure that we aren't creating a culture of trauma? May we all do one thing each day to stop the racism, the hatred, the prejudice. Because if we can stop all of that, we have hope that we will stop the mass murders that are taking place. And yes, please, make gun owners at least as responsible as the driver of a car. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your thoughts and your interaction. And thank you for all that you are. May you really enjoy your day and gift another human being with something that's kind and loving, and help us all stop the fear that seems to be ruling our country and dividing it. Thank you so very much. I hope that you will join me Mondays and Thursdays on Facebook for Facebook Live, where we do our best to have some good conversation and fun. And please join me on this YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you like what you heard, and make sure that you help us get to that 100 mark. We're really looking forward to that. So thank you very much for your support and for your time. I will hopefully talk with you soon.